Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chasing Collectibles Catchup. I'm Tyler,
I'm Tim.
and today with us we have a very special guest. This is first time in our Chasing Collectibles history that we have an actual superhero amongst us. We have Miss Karen Whitfield, who played Batgirl. Thank you for
Hi,
joining us today.
hi everybody. Thank you guys for inviting me to your show. This is really exciting and it's nice to meet both of you.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you. I met you for the first time. I think it was at the Winter Charlotte Comic Con in 2021, and I saw you. You had your all your stuff out and talking about how you got to go on tour with Adam West
Yeah.
and Burt Ward, and thought it was really neat getting to meet you. And we're just thrilled to have you here.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that. It was nice meeting you that day as well. I
Oh,
guess you're
yeah.
chasing collectibles, so you got me.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And of course I met Karen that morning when we were in Florence.
Yeah.
We just happened to be staying at the same hotel, and we were downstairs at the breakfast that they had going on downstairs. So she was there and just like, "Hey."
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to see you that morning too. Thank you. It was great.
Well, so I guess as we're getting into this, so you got to you were part of the tour as like playing the role of Batgirl alongside Adam West as Batman and Burt Ward as Robin, but that wasn't until 1978. So the show itself aired in the 60s. So were you a fan watching it originally when it first
I
aired?
was. I was. When it first came on, it was 1966. So I was 9 years old when it came on. The first, and we didn't have much color TV then. So I remember it being so um, colorful and just cool. And I know it's all campy now, but when we were kids back then, it was the first superhero movie, or I mean, actually, show that was on that I remember. And we couldn't wait to get home from school to watch it. We'd all talk about it at school. It was really, really cool. And then the first time I saw Yvonne Craig as Batgirl was in 1967, a year later. And when she came on, us girls were just excited. And I watched every move that she made in that show. It was really cool, and everybody just loved it back then. The children, the adults. It was one of the first of its kind in that era. So yes, it was one of my favorites when I was young.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was really iconic because even I've obviously grown up watching reruns of it, and just very cool. I mean, it's a very different take than the Batman we see today. But
Yeah,
seeing Adam West and Cesar Romero as a Joker and all those characters, it's such a good job and it's very unique.
and they were great actors. I mean, they all were wonderful, and to be able to pull them in there and they'll make it what it was, and those characters what they were. They were the first ones to make those characters, and everyone else has followed them. And that they were big shoes for everyone else to follow because they were great. Back then, and the way they handled it, and their suits, and just, I mean, it was beyond its years, even though it's not like it is today. It was still beyond its years back then. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Wow. So you're talking about how you were a fan of the show and you started watching it when you were 9 years old. You grew up in North Carolina, I understand, right?
Yes, mhm.
So how
I'm
did you
originally
find
from
yourself?
Durham, North
Yeah,
Carolina.
that's great. We're not that far from there, actually. I don't think. Uh,
No.
how did you find yourself auditioning for the role as Batgirl?
Well, sometimes it might not be because of auditioning. It's just at the right place at the right time, and it's just meant to be. And it's the path that God puts you on, or synchronicity, or just serendipity, or just the lines of the stars. I just happen to be in the right place. Um, you know, and when I was just 20 years old, it was in September that year, I met Burt Ward, at the Raleigh-Durham Airport, and we became pretty fast friends. And then 3 months later, I was living in LA in the middle of actors and actresses and superheroes, and it was really a great journey. And it was a wonderful opportunity, and I'll never forget it. And it was just great to be in that, to be able to do. And in my book, it tells more of exactly what happened. I won't get into it here, but in the book, people could read more of how that all happened. But yes, I met him in 77, that September. And then I started traveling as with him as Robin, and then he and Adam West as Batman and Robin in March of 78. And then I believe I was donned the mantle of the Bronze Age Batgirl in August that year. So I guess while I was traveling with them, I was being trained, and so to speak, and I didn't really realize it. But yes, it was just wonderful to be able to do that. And I always appreciate Yvonne because she didn't want to travel at the time, and I appreciate the fact that she didn't, because if she did, then I would not have been able to be the next Batgirl as the Bronze Age Batgirl. And that was during the time of the Bronze Age comics, which the Batman family had come out in 1975, the Batman comics in 1975. And then in 1977, that February, the Batman Adventures on television came on, the animated adventures on television came on in March of 77, no, February 77, and it ran for 2 seasons. But so that when I met them in September of 77, it was just, impeccable timing when you think about that. And then in 78, I started traveling with them, and then became the next Batgirl, so it was pretty neat.
That's amazing how that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been wanting to pick up a copy of your book because it sounds really interesting. I'll be sure to link the it's on Amazon. I'll be sure to link that in the description because it is really cool how that just kind of works out, being in the right place and just meeting him. That is so cool.
Yeah, place at the right time. That
Yeah.
happens a lot in life, and it does. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah. So, what did these traveling shows typically look like? Where did you go? And I guess what was the format? What would you guys do?
Well, I wish I could remember every show that we did. I was only 20 years old, and I didn't journal. We didn't have telephones like we do now with the notes on it. You could keep notes.
Hmm.
And, we didn't have cameras back then like we do now. I think it was just a Polaroid. So I didn't have a lot of pictures. I didn't take a lot of pictures because, when you're 20, I never expected this, years down the road that I'd come back around to this. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen when they're that age. You just don't really think about the future in that kind of way. But it was just the time, the places. I mean, I remember some cities. I wish I'd journal, and I tell everybody, even though you have all the gadgets now that you can do, you can keep up with things. It's still fun to journal, just write down things, where you go, who you meet. And I wish I had done that. But I do remember some cities, after a while, they all somewhat seem the same, just like in Comic Cons now that I'm doing, even though it's different people and different fans, it's still sort of the same. So it was pretty fun, the 3 of us to be out like that. Sometimes Burt and Adam would go out. It depends on what the venues would want. It was car shows, opening stores, and also like MS. We did an MS fundraiser, foundation type event. And so it depends on who they wanted. Sometimes it would be all 3 of us. Sometimes it would be just the 2 of them. And sometimes it would just be Burt and I. Adam and I never traveled alone together. It was usually the 3 of us or just Burt and I when we did travel. Or again, just the 2 of them.
So, Karen, I'm going to push you just a little bit more here.
Okay.
Can you think of any particular memory that really like sticks out? Like any, I'm just so interested to like.
Well, when the people ask me that, my first answer is always going to be when I met Burt, of course, and Adam. That's my first always be my first memories of how I met them, and I'll never forget it. And it was pretty exciting, especially when I met Adam. Bert and I traveled from LA to Texas, to Dallas, Texas, to get on another flight to go to a smaller city. I think it might have been Little Rock, Arkansas, if I remember correctly. But we couldn't get in there because it was a lot of really bad storms. So they had rented a limo to take us to that city. And it was about almost a 3 hour drive, 2.5, 3 hours. I was pretty long, it seemed at the time. But they made it very short, because Adam, the limo driver, he had the music on for us, and Adam would sing to the music, changing his own words. And then I was sitting in between them, and the way they would bounce off each other and talk about, things that they've done. And, Adam would always make Bert and I laugh. I mean, everywhere we went. And that was probably one of my first exciting times when being with them. And then when we go to the cities, we were treated like royalty, because this was just 10 years after the show had ended. So I'm not sure how long they were out there, just the two of them, before I joined them. But I do know that I believe that they traveled in their suits until 1988, 89, right when the new movie came out with Michael Keaton. That's when they stopped dressing out. So altogether, it was about, I'd say, close to 20 years that they dressed up like Batman and Robin. And I was with them about 6 years, 7 years, something like that. But just different cities. I mean, I remember we went to, Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, North Carolina, Tennessee, a few different places. And Bert and I even went to Hawaii, and we were over there and did a couple of things over there as well. So, I have great memories, but, just to, um,
Wow.
but just when they would take us out to dinner and walk into the places, and a lot of towns were smaller, and we'd walk in, and people, would look at us. We clearly didn't look like we were from those areas at times, and especially, and then when Adam would speak, some people knew we were going to be there, some people didn't, but when Adam would speak, most people would turn around, and Bert too, because they both have, these distinctive voices. And of course, Adam would make everybody feel at home, whoever would come up and talk to us. And if they did ask for their autographs, they were really sweet, and they signed them. And of course, the people that were taking us around, they would, stop. If it was a lot of people, they would stop them, unless at least let us eat and, be with ourselves. But, but they were really gracious in signing autographs and things like that. And I learned a lot from them. Of course, we are who we are because of our parents, but, I was with them for a pretty long time. So I feel that I am the way I am today because of them as well. I was, those are very informative years, from 20 to like 20, 5, 26, to be with them the way that I was. It was
Yeah,
pretty neat.
that's great. They had an
Yeah.
impact on your life and everything, a really
Huge.
big one.
Yeah.
Yes. Huge.
That makes me really happy to hear how they were like, and very kind. And I was
Very.
gonna ask you a little bit about what it was like working with them. We kind of touched on that, but it's also good to know that they like had a sense of humor. Besides uh, Batman, a lot of people, I guess my age, knew Adam West from he starred for, I can't remember how many years, since the start of Family Guy. He played the mayor in Family
Yeah.
Guy, and was like this very kooky character. And I always found it funny that he was like, this is the former Batman, and they had these really funny lines that they had him say. And it's just good to know that he's always kind of seemed to be that funny, going back to when he
And
was Batman.
if I had to guess, he probably made up a lot of those lines too. And
Yeah.
he did a lot of voiceovers. I mean, like 20 or so. He did a lot of
Mhm.
voiceovers with different shows. And you may not even know that was him, but he did. But yeah, he was super, super friendly and nice. And Bert was more of our manager type personality. He was the one that was telling us where to go, where we're going to be, who we're going to visit. And Adam and I were like, following him along, just having a good time and keeping it fun and light. And we go through some situations, and Adam was always funny. I never, ever, ever saw either one of them upset about anything that we went through. And, and you go through a lot when you're traveling and different things, like if they didn't get there to pick you up, or if something would happen. But, Adam really kept everything light. And I mean, he is clearly the bright knight, because he was like that as a human being, as a person. He was really sweet and friendly, and just gracious. I mean, he would talk to like when we'd have these long lines, and he would treat the first person as everybody that would come in like they were the first person, and he,
Wow.
yeah, and when it was time for us to stop, he didn't want to stop until everybody was gone. We just didn't get up and walk out, So, and learning from the way he was with that, it really helped Bert and I. But Bert he was a great, nice person too, but he was more like the business. He knew exactly what was going on. And it's really, because when you think about Batman and Robin, the roles were reversed almost,
Yeah.
So, but then in real life, Bert was more serious, and Adam was more, he took everything serious but playful too. He kept things, light. So.
Well, that's really good. It is really good to know, because I have an impression of what Bert and what Adam were like, and then sometimes you have this idea of like, oh, you have a perception of people who were celebrities, and then you find out, oh, they're actually like this. But it's good to know that these seems very genuine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
that's awesome.
was. Yeah.
So okay, so moving on, Karen. I'm just as much as I want to hear so much more about Bert and Adam and everything. It's just, we've seen you, so me and Tyler and Lauren, who's not on this episode right now with us, have seen you a number of times at a number of different conventions. Just kind of wondering, what's what have you been up to, that you've been at more conventions, and you have a book now, and um you wrote a book, and I'm just wondering, what's been going on with all of that, all the shows you've been attending.
Yeah. It's been really surreal. It's just been another great journey. And matter of fact, I do sell my book at all the Comic Cons that I go to, and it is also on Amazon and a Blurb. And I'll just put it up real quick like that. So it is on those two, and I do sell it, and that's the back of it, which I love, love, love. I feel like I'm standing in like the real world, looking into the comic world, into my past, which is
That's
really
so cool.
cool.
Yeah, it's a neat
Oh
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
and yeah, it's really cool. And my my illustrator, he's in Spain, and his name is David Becerra. And I was very, he was one of those people that reached out to me and asked me if I would have an interview with his paper over in to honor Adam when he passed away in Spain. And he asked me if I would, be a part of it. And I was so honored to be. But then I told him I had a project too that I was looking for an illustrator, and I told him my vision, and he had the vision for the front, and I had it in the back. But I told him what that vision was, and he sent it to me. He penciled it within 10 minutes. And I'm like, done, you're hired. So, but with saying that, I'm writing my second edition right now, and it's going to be, I published that myself. I self-published it, but next time I believe I'm going to go with a publisher to take it further, and I'd like to have it Audible. And that second edition, like this one, I added how I met them, how it all happened, things that I went through when I was in California with them and traveling. And the second edition is also going to be adding some stories I waited to add because I wanted this to be a platform and then build on top of it. So the second one would be more stories, adding to some of the stories that's in there, as well as where I left this off, like with the Comic Cons you were just asking me, I've gone to some really fun ones and great ones. I've met a lot of great people. I mean, the fans, the promoters, the vendors, and I feel like I have a lot of friends out there now because I've made friends, just like with you two while I've been out. And it's just been a journey I never thought that I would actually revisit when I left California to move back home to North Carolina. Um, in 1985, and I never thought that I would, get back around to it and do this. But as I said, before, that things just are placed in your heart, and go on with it. And next thing I'm doing is I've written the book, and I'm on these Comic Cons, and I don't want to stop. I'm here now, and I'm back, and I want to do as many as I possibly can until I can't, like physically or mentally. So it's just been really a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And you've been super busy too. I mean, we go to our fair share of cons, but I'm seeing you at the ones that we're at. I've seen, I follow you on Instagram, and you're popping up at conventions all over the place. So you've certainly been busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done probably maybe since last June was my first one, maybe 30 in a couple of comic stores.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, and I've got a few more this year. And I don't have any in December right now. I'm gonna take that month off. But yeah, so this weekend is Cosplay World of Richmond, and it's the first Comic Con like this, and I'm really excited about it. It's like it's for people that want to come in. They're gonna have vendors and exhibitors and things like that, but it's going to be mainly, for cosplayers. Like, it's like a home for cosplayers too, and it's going to be celebrity cosplayers there, and celebrity guests, and I'm one of the guests, which is really neat because I'm like one of the original cosplayers, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
that's
was a
awesome.
cosplayer
That.
before cosplayer was even a word. Nobody came and dressed like that when we were out there. It's just the three of us. I mean, not even little children were. And now to be out there, and I know Adam and Burt felt the same way, to be out there to see, how they started this. And then I joined them before Comic-Con, and then now the way it is, it's just huge. I mean, it's just unbelievable, really. And and it's just wonderful to be part of the journey again, and to know that, and that's what Jason Keith, the promoter in the cosplay world. So it's Cosplay World of Richmond. He wants to do them in more cities, and each city he goes to, it's going to be called like Cosplay World of Raleigh or Cosplay World of San Antonio, wherever he is. And he's like, Karen, if your schedule, goes along with mine with that, he said, I'd love for you to be there because you were like the original cosplayer, and which I was so honored, and I felt great once he said that, because
Wow.
it's pretty true.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's really neat to be a part of that. And then so that's this coming weekend, October 1st and 2nd, and then the next time is the 15th and 16th. I'll be in of October in Fayetteville, and then I'll be in Slidell, Louisiana, the 22nd and 23rd of October. And then in November, I'm going to be in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is
wow,
cool. Yeah, it's going to be neat. And then I'm going to be in Myrtle Beach the weekend of Thanksgiving, and in the Grand Slam of Myrtle Beach. So that's going to be really Grand Slam Con in Myrtle Beach.
that's
That's going to be
awesome.
neat. Yeah.
Can I just say I feel like in a way you're honoring Adam West and his memory by
Uh,
doing all this.
Well, I hope so. That's what I really wanted to do. One reason why I really wanted to come out, because, and my daughter was one that she was the one that said, that if you don't come out and tell your story, Mom, because it was lost, it was missing, because I left it before, the internet blew up. I did leave it to come home to have children.
Yeah.
And I came a time in my life that I decided to hang up my cape and come back from California to North Carolina to have children. And I did. And they're 32 and 29 now. And the ironic thing about this is I came home, I did not want to really raise children in California. I wanted to raise them in North Carolina, where I'm from. I'm from a huge family, and I missed them greatly when I lived out there, because it wasn't, we didn't even have answering machines. It was 3,000 miles away. And we never knew back then how life was going to be now. You just think that's it. And so we didn't have a lot of airline flights. I mean, so, I really missed home. So I decided to move back, and I had my children. And what I was saying, the ironic thing about that is that my firstborn was born on Adam West's birthday. So
Oh wow.
yeah, September 19th, 1990. He was born on his birthday, which is pretty cool too. Another great story. So, but yeah, so like she had mentioned, I thought about it because it's true. I mean, I want to let people know how they were, and they were really wonderful people. And again, they helped me through my life. And when times would get tough, I would remember being with them and the things that both of them would say to me, and what I learned being out on the road with them, constantly, for all those years, and just see how they handle things. And it really taught me how to do that. And I want to honor him of who he is, since we don't have him anymore. And I hope, and Bert, he's still with us, but I'm hoping that people don't forget that they're really like the grandfathers of of Batman and Robin. They're the ones that started it, basically, the live incarnations of them. And I know in the comic world, there were, before them, but then when they came out, they were the live incarnations of them, and along with Yvonne Craig too. I mean, she is like my Bat Queen. I grew up watching her. I loved everything that she stood for, and she loved Batgirl. And and it taught me to love Batgirl as well. And she was such a sweet person and kind, and I just want people to remember her too. That's she was the first superhero heroine that we, us girls, watched, and she blazed the trails for us. And now there are a lot of female superheroes out there, and to have her be in the beginning, and then I was right behind her in that era. It's just surreal to be a part of the Bat family, as I am. And I want to stay here now.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I mean, you mentioned like the legacy, of Adam and Burt kind of being like the grandfather of Batman and Robin. Um, Batman turned a couple years ago, turned 80 years old. He started in 1939, and so he's about, I guess, 83.
83
And we,
now.
yeah, we
Yeah.
we had Batman Day a couple of Saturdays ago, and I think it's interesting because Batman has had so many interpretations. You go back to the 60s era, and then you have the Michael Keaton, and then you most recently have Robert Pattinson, all very different, but still like the same core elements. So
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, what do you think? Because like people, you went on tour with Adam and Burt in the 70s, and people love Batman, and you come out today to cons, and people still love Batman. So why do you think people still gravitate toward this character?
Because I feel that he's human. Batman was human. I mean, 100% human, and he's the only superhero that didn't have superpowers. And the strength and what he believed in and believes in, the strength of not of fear. He doesn't believe in fear. I mean, when he was a kid, he and a lot of people know this about him. When he was a child, he fell in that well, and that was in that cave. And there were bats in there, and that was the first beginning of Batman. When he there were bats, and he was so afraid of bats, he had nightmares and things like that. And what did he do? He overcame that fear and became a bat himself. And he just teaches us to believe in yourself, and to overcome your fears. And he's a protector. He's a vigilante. He just and he can walk in a room where there's there's superheroes that fly, that read minds, that are faster than light, but they all are intimidated by him. They all fear him, and he's this human person of Earth and not from some other planet. And I think people resonate with that. That's pretty neat when you think about it. And he uses his own gadgets to make himself be a superhero, like his Batmobile. I mean, everybody can't wait to see the new Batmobile, just like they can Batman. So he has this Batmobile, Batcopter, helicopter, and just his utility belt with the fun little gadgets, and and it's like they're toys, and people like to see that, and also the bat signal. I think that people like them because the bat signal. I mean, you see so many people wearing them. I mean, every time I turn around, I see the bat signal. But and it's fun because we ourselves, when we see a light up in the sky, you can't help but look up just to see where it's coming from, see what it is.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of that whole, bat phenomenon, just and I think that's why people really like him, just for who he stood for, and what he can do on his own athletic abilities, instead of being like a super from another superhero from another area. It's from here, and I think that people like that, so.
Right.
I agree.
And he's
You were
one of the
just-
best detectives ever,
He
right?
is, yeah. He's not
oh,
just
geez.
physically strong, but like mentally,
Mentally, and he can find out anything and where they're at, or what he's looking at, anything. He's like the best detective, and I think people like that too.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. The only human that could take down the entire Justice League.
Exactly. And he knows he can. They know he can. So it's just really cool, and to think about that. So
And he's got the shark repellent.
yeah, it's got the shark repellent. Yeah, that's
So,
funny.
so as we're touching on Batman's gadgets and all the all the things he has that help to make him Batman, his costume, his suit, and
Yeah.
all that makes him Batman. Um
He's mysterious. I think people like that mysteriousness. He hides in the dark shadows,
Yeah.
and then he comes out from nowhere. And I think people just sort of like that mysteriousness of him, too. So
Yeah.
it's, you know,
but just like Batman, Batgirl also has a costume, and she
yeah,
has gadgets
yeah,
and other components that make her Batgirl, make her a superhero also.
yeah.
Do you happen to have a favorite costume of Batgirl's?
Mine.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's good.
Mine's my favorite. It truly is. The first in that 359 comic of DC Comics, the first suit that they had, the black suit with the blue cape, and that was the very first suit that they created for Batgirl. Which was in January of 1967, and then when when Yvonne Craig came on in September of 1967, they had put her in the purple and gold. They didn't put her in that suit, but that suit was actually made for the show. But I've asked people why they thought that she didn't wear that, and it could be from, like, my daughter told me she's a visual person, and I've asked other people too in my panels just to see their answers. But I think, as my daughter does about that, it was because of the color. If they had put her in that suit, it would be very similar to Adams as Batman, and so the contrast wouldn't have been there, since we just had gotten color TV back then. So that's why they put her in the purple and gold. But I'm glad they put her in the purple and gold, because if so, I would never have been able to wear the suit. So when I was, the Bronze Age Batgirl, the actual suit at that point was like a gray suit. It was a blue cape with a gray suit when you look at that era. But DC Comics didn't want to put me in that suit. They didn't want to jump over the first one because they had already done that. So they went on and put me in the first one, which is the Silver Age comic era. And so I'm really wearing the Silver Age comic era suit, but I'm actually the Bronze Age comic age of the era, if that makes sense. I mean, people, that are in the comics, I guess, understand that. Yeah. So that's my favorite suit, actually.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Yvonne's would be my second one. And then, the ones that they have out now are just so beautiful. And, they're nice, but still will always say mine's the very first original, my favorite.
Yeah, and I say this not just because you're here, but Batgirl is, she's a great member of the Bat family. She's, very strong herself, has her morals, and in times is like a leader in the Bat
Yeah,
family as well. So I know there was all the we wanted to get into it, the controversy about, the movie that was going to come out.
yeah.
But I do believe that she'll be on the big screen one day in one form or another, because she definitely deserves it.
I do. She does. 55 years we've been waiting, so I definitely think she deserves it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Batgirl has her own superhero abilities as being human, with her own athletic abilities that she uses. But yeah, I'm just proud to be able to be part of that. So
Well, as we're wrapping up, I just wanted to ask you. I know you mentioned some cons that you're going to in the next coming weeks and months. But besides cons, is there any other way that people can follow you? Social media, anything like that that we can plug to make sure people can keep track of all the things that you're doing?
yes, let me say this too. If somebody does buy on Amazon my book, or on Blurb, you can also get it on Blurb in hard copy as well. If there's a Comic Con that you see me at, if you'll bring me the book, I'll be glad to sign it free of charge. So please do that. And also, you can reach me out on my Instagram, Live Like Batgirl, and you can private message me, and I'll be glad to sell you my book myself and then sign it before, mail it to you, of course, if somebody wants to do that. And I also have Karen Whitfield Batgirl on Facebook. So those are two portals that they can reach me at.
Awesome. And this has been really great. We loved, I know Tim did as well, just hearing
Yeah.
about your time with Adam and with Burt. And it's been so cool seeing you at cons. The first one I saw you at was last year, and now I keep seeing you everywhere. So I'm sure
Okay.
we'll run into each other again
Come
real
see
soon.
me, get a picture. Yeah, come and see me, get a picture. And if anybody's ever there and I'm there, please come and meet me. I love talking to people. I love hearing everybody else's stories. And I have stories that it's just kind of hard to tell them all here. But if you'll come and tell me your stories, and I'll tell you one too. So please, everybody, come and see me, that if you can, that'd be great.
It if I have Tyler dress up like the Riddler, and we come visit you at a convention, okay, and you hit him, will there be like a big bam sign that appears out of thin air? I mean,
We'll have to
I'm
test
And
that.
and sock, all of those.
You
It's
have to
words that just come in from thin air.
we'll
Exactly.
we'll have to get Emma on that. Tim's daughter does a whole lot of cosplaying. Maybe she can help us make a sign or something. We'll have to make that happen.
Yeah.
So, Tim, if he does come as the Riddler, you have to come as the Joker.
Oh, oh man, I'm much
And
more like the Penguin.
oh, you're the Penguin. Okay, the Penguin. Oh, I love the Penguin. All of them, all the characters. So we'll have to get some pictures together. That'd be great.
That sounds like a plan. We should do that. Well,
That'd be nice.
well, Karen, this has been a blast, and we've enjoyed having you on. And like I said, we're looking forward to seeing you again. I'm sure our paths will cross real soon.
I hope so. And it's nice to meet you both and talk to you both. And thank you for having me part of your show. This has been really fun.
No, thank you for being on, Karen. We
Okay,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Yay, comics!